All right. Well, welcome to the Fair Chase podcast for this week and actually next week. Just get used to hearing and seeing me because Jared will be out. It's really lonely being by myself. Usually I'm kind of sitting over here, and now I'm directly in front of the camera for those of you who are watching on YouTube. But we'll get him back soon. He's a busy man. Anyways, today we've got a special guest. Andy, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Andy Blanchard. I am the Director of Product and Customer Experience at Huntwise.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned before the call you've been there what since January? Is that right?
Since January, yeah. So a little less than a year. And it has been an amazing experience, kind of a roller coaster. Coming in the lull of our busy season and getting things ready. Built a team of 5 from the ground up between now and January. So we got a full product team over at Huntwise now, and it ranges from UX UI all the way to customer experience, customer service. So it's been a really, really amazing experience to date.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit beforehand, but we're huge fans of Huntwise, just because the mapping is so nice. So obviously the hunting stuff, the tracking your route, I use all the time. I left it on though the other day, and it tracked my whole kayak ride home too, so I could see exactly where I was going in the water. Um, but no, I love to use that. We worked with you guys for a while. Met years ago. We met with Matt, I think, and
Okay. Yeah.
Spencer.
Yeah.
Uh, and that was years ago. And now I feel like just a few years later, you've got a much larger team. How is
Yeah.
being part of that? What's that like?
That's it's been awesome. I think COVID,
Are you
is
clearing your
is
throat because of COVID? Do you
no.
have COVID right now?
That's why I didn't come in today.
Yeah, that's
No,
right.
not at all. Um, I think obviously COVID was a big hit to a lot of businesses, and I think for us it was a great push to get people outdoors. As unfortunate as it was, but it allowed people to really kind of grasp getting back outdoors, seeing what they wanted to do, seeing the opportunities that were available, and we were glad to be there and help them. And so that's helped us as far as a business to try and understand, okay, we have our customers, what do they want, what do they need,
Yeah.
and during that time frame we've grown. When I started, I think we were 13, and now we're up to 20 within a year.
Yeah.
So we've really pushed, to try and react to what our customers are want and what our customers are asking for, and that's kind of my role in my department within Huntwise. So it's been an amazing experience, and yeah, I think we're going to continue to grow and blow this space up.
No, it's been fun to follow. It's been fun to use. I'm a huge topo. Is it do you I say topo, or are you supposed to say topo maps?
It's funny, internally we on my team I have a GIS individual, and it's Topo,
Topo.
and I say Topo,
Yeah.
just because I know how some people hold strong to Topo. I don't know. I'm sure there's people that are very religious about how to say it, but it doesn't, to me, either way, it's tomato or tomato.
I'm a big fan of whatever that app or the map is. I like the topo. I'm gonna call it. I decided. Um, I feel like that is where I go first when I look at a new area. So
Yeah.
starting there, and then I just throw that all the top Huntwise 3D map. What is that one
Okay.
called?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So,
and
so yeah, just our 3D.
yeah, yeah, on top of it, so it looks great. It's an awesome app, but I would imagine you've grown your team quickly,
Yep.
product
Yep.
development team. So you've been working on anything you want to maybe talk a little bit about today?
Yeah, yeah. That's a I like that slow pitch softball.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
take that one. Yeah, so we've been cranking away again. I'll kind of step back from the product side. Before we didn't really have a product led department or division within the company, so it was marketing and development with Jeff, our founder, kind of leading it through the weeds in that. And it kind of came to a point where, marketing needed to focus and development needed to focus, and we need the ability to have that kind of three-headed dragon where we can attack each. And for me, the biggest one with the product was understanding the customers. It starts from there. We can have an amazing product that no one uses, or we can have a product that we listen to people and we make sure that we're hearing what they want. And one of the big things that we heard over the years, and have finally the ability to affect that change, was trying to, at a local level, so we'll even go as far as like a county level,
Yeah.
understanding the rut, the whitetail rut
Sure.
in that area. And so we've spent this year doing a bunch of research, from car crashes to, um, you know, university studies
Yep.
on when the rut is, where it's at,
Did you
state
factor in
by
the
state.
moon? Is the moon factoring in this?
So a lot of the studies, and again, people are going to have their own opinions on it.
Mm-hmm.
We
That's
tried
why I
we
asked.
tried to we tried to move not far away from opinion, but we tried to back up anything that was a um, passed down generational uh, thought,
Sure.
and said, okay, does this actually hold weight, compared to the scientific studies, the collar deer or car crashes, or and what it actually, a lot of what we found, correlates as far as, and we'll go to the rut, we'll break it apart a little bit, but as far as the rut goes, it's for us, and what we're focused on is, peak time that a deer is bred.
Right.
So rut itself, there's a lot of ideas around it and floating, but really it's the peak time that a female deer is bred. And so, um, what the correlation that we found, or what the correlation that we've researched and found, is the idea, the amount of daylight within a day.
Yeah. What is that
There's
photo
other,
photo period? Is that right?
yep. So, as the, and that's why I think a lot of people, you can say my county's different than your county. A lot of dates you'll see across the board from different companies and different places is they give you pretty broad general dates, because it does happen pretty generally
Sure.
at the same time of year based on, the amount of light that is happening. There's other factors, like you said, the moon, the weather, those will play into pushing a couple weeks or a couple days difference.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, you have the idea of where, uh, based on timing, and based on amount of light, when this is going to happen. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what we've done on top of that is, added a couple other secret sauce items to it to understand, a little bit better, with Jeff Sturgis coming in, what you should be. So if we give you a date, of, or a range, obviously we can't be, 100% accurate just based on 1,000 different characteristics,
Right.
or items. But what we can do is say, based on your location and all the research that we have, this is when peak rut, or this is when pre-rut or lockdown is actually happening, which, um, we do have some algorithm that we play into that. A lot of it is research that other people have found, and we're just kind of correlating and bringing it all together. But the one thing that we're doing on top of it is telling you, within that phase of the rut, what you should be looking for to identify that you're in that phase. And then, once you've identified, so once you've put yourself into the equation to say, yes, this is what I'm seeing, and yes, it looks like we're in pre-rut right now,
Yeah.
then on top of all of that, we partner with Jeff Sturgis, to actually tell you how you should hunt that phase of the rut. So you should be looking for these things, and this is how you should actually go about hunting to be successful in that phase of the rut. Um, and and it gets better. And to add on top of that, the other thing that we add to the equation is our Huntcast.
Sure.
So not
I was gonna
only are,
ask about that. They're related. They play off each
yeah,
other. Okay.
so totally play off each other. So not only are we, telling you the best time to hunt based on the rut phase that you're in and what you should be looking for and doing. But then also add on top of that the Huntcast and the 20 plus characteristics that we put into that algorithm to say this during that time frame, this Wednesday is going to be the best time in pre-rut for you to go and hunt.
So
We
you're
joke
saying
internally.
it's the most statistically likely, right? Because you're
Yeah,
basically taking all things that factor into a percentage. So if it's, a cold front, you add, that's X percentage. All these things go together, and you're saying, if you had to pick a day, and hunting is all about percentages, in my opinion.
yep.
And you do all things to, stack things in your favor, or not. And you know, so that's what I'm trying to drive at. So you're going towards a percentage, right? Essentially.
Yeah, I mean, we can't obviously we can't stop you from smoking a cigarette in the blinds,
Right.
and or your property is not great how you set it up for mature bucks to live on your property, and your neighbors is.
Yeah.
Um, but what we can do is basically tell you, you know, during the rut, during the time, based on all of our algorithm, this is statistically the best time to see the bucks that you're going after.
So you're just saying, we've done all this work. The rest is now up to you, right? At that point, I mean, you've done
We
all that you can do to help somebody
we
find a deer.
we do everything but pull the trigger for
There
you.
you go. Well, and you know what? The smoking thing happens. I was out, last week, in a place I've never been. It was just close to my in-laws, who I'm staying with while they build my house, and I I found this spot. It's like 15 minutes away. I'm like, cool. I mean, I'll try it out. Went out in the morning. Ended up walking through acres of poison ivy. It was like literal acres of poison ivy, but it was kind of rainy, and I think it washed off. I never got any. Anyways, I walked about 2 miles the long way around to get into this bedding area. I'm like kind of excited about it. I think, I don't know. I'm seeing some sign. I actually saw, walking out, it was super foggy, and I got my lamp on because I can't see. Usually I don't use a lamp
Yeah.
too much unless it's really, really dark. But it was foggy, so I've got it on, and I look kind of to the side of the trail, and I see eyes, and there is a fork, probably, or maybe a 4 or 5 point, literally 10 feet away, just like watching me through the fog. But I think because it was too foggy, it didn't. I don't know. I
You
didn't know
couldn't.
why. I literally could have just thrown a rock at it. So, anyways, I walk all the way around, climb up my tree. I'm feeling good, and I hear kind of crashing, but it's dark and it's foggy. So I think maybe there's a deer walking through. Didn't hear any clanking or anything like that. Well, it turns out it was a guy who I didn't see, but he was 40 yards away, kind of tucked behind a tree. I'm like, okay. All of a sudden I see like like an orange light during the day. I'm like, what the heck is? So I just throw my binoculars on it. He's lighting up a cigarette, and like a minute later, his smoke is just. I'm just
You can just
smelling
smell
him.
it.
I'm smelling him, which is not a good sign. So I sat there. I'm like, dang it, man. And he came in through the bedding to get to it. So I'm like, crap, this sucks. But I'm just gonna stay here. I don't want to, walk out early and screw up somebody else's hunt or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm getting down. This is ridiculous. This guy was sitting on his platform, just dangling his feet. He didn't have a seat on his tree stand. So he was just
Did he
sitting
have
there.
a bow?
He had a bow. He had it like on one of those little I think they lock into your platform, and it's like a bow holder.
Okay. Okay.
And so he's just dangling his leg. So I climb down, pack everything up, and walk out. He didn't even notice. Had no idea. Just kind of like just a clueless guy. So I was like, I think about percentages a lot. I'm like, man, I did all these things for percentage in my favor. It was raining slightly. It was,
Yeah.
it was great entrance. It was by a sweet pinch point, right by bedding.
Downwind. Yeah.
Downwind, all the things, all the percentages that I could control. Actually, I used Huntwise quite a bit. Speaking of Huntwise on that trip, and then he just walked in and just blew it out. So
Yeah.
you can't control everything.
You can't. And I think the biggest thing for us is that we would never tell anybody that we're going to make you be able to kill that monster. It is statistics and percentages as far as like this is the opportunity that presents itself as the best time. And it's funny, we even customers to us, to me at least, and our team in general, is just, it's very important for us to hear what people don't like, do like, concerned about the app. And a lot of people will say, I took some time off because you guys told me that the best day was this Thursday, but then the weather changes and the best day is Friday.
Right.
And it's like, well, we're sorry that the weather is changing. Again, statistically, that's the best day to go out just based on weather pattern. So we try to do our best to tell you when and where to go. And we think with RutCast, this just gets you even that much closer to finding the ideal time. For me and even, a couple other people at the company, we have kids,
Right.
and it is, even if you don't have kids, it's pretty critical to, sorry, the the meeting just popped up on
Oh,
my
there you go. Yeah, we got
computer.
a meeting right now. Yeah.
Uh, the it's just it's hard to find time. I mean, even for this, to sit down and carve out some time away from the family. Obviously, it's very important. It's important to us as a company, family. Um, but we just want to give people the advantage to get out there and do everything that they can to be successful in the woods.
Yeah, your time is limited. I mean, there are certain days where no matter what, I'm going hunting somewhere, figuring out whether
Yeah,
it be just stalking around or climbing a tree. But those days that or those weeks, you're like, well, I have a couple days to pick from. You want to at least stack the odds in your favor, and it's nice to have something that kind of combines all these. Because, like you said, there are factors. It's like barometric pressure, wind direction, temperature change, right? During the time you're out there, precipitation, time of year,
days
tons of
days
stuff.
leading up to it.
Days, yes.
I could, I've had such, I've been hunting. I grew up in Cadillac, so an hour and a half north of Grand Rapids, our location. I grew up on 80 acres. My dad taught me how to hunt, my brother how to hunt, and my uncles were always around, and they always had opinions and thoughts on what to do. And um, yeah, it's just interesting the lessons I've learned at Huntwise since
Yeah.
I've been here that aren't just passed down, that actually have validity as far as data and science behind it, or data and research behind it, that you're like, oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
And we were just down in Kentucky. um, we did a bow hunt down in Kentucky, and we're sitting, and Jeff Sturgis was coming down with us, and we're sitting out there, and we're all kind of texting back and forth, and it's raining, and he's like, man, I'm getting soaked, I'm getting down. And I looked at that text, and it wasn't bad where I was at. It was just kind of sprinkling a little bit. And then I'm like, you know what? If Yoda tells you to get down,
Yeah.
if Yoda is done, like
Yeah.
it was, I'm done. And it was 6 o'clock. And I texted the guides that will take you out and pick you back up. And I said, I'm done. And he's like, what? You got an hour left. I was like, nope, I'm done. Like, it was a 0 deer day. Jeff was getting down. I was like, there's no reason for me to be in here any longer to keep scent around. I probably, if there was any deer, would have busted them. But I walked back out, and I was hunting with another individual on that same kind of farm. And I get out there, and I get in the truck, and they come in, and I was like, did you see anything? And they're like, no, didn't see anything. And and so it's just one of those things where, obviously each land is unique, and
Sure.
you could have pressure from a neighbor's dog that barks every time a dog comes and it pushes them one way, and,
Right.
and
Or
you
the
know that
corn is getting cut or whatever.
totally.
Yep.
But statistically, we've tried over multiple years to figure out what is the best algorithm for people to use. When I first got here, this was the one thing that I really want to hold true, and I want our hunters to understand this, is that I want our app, I don't want you to be having to use it. I want it to be a guide. So I want it to be that dad, that uncle that teaches you what to do and how to do it
Right.
and when to do it. Um, but I don't want you to have to feel like you need this app to go into the woods. It should be a guide that tells you this is the best day and the best time, and this is how you should plant, and this is where you should set your blinds. But over time, we want people to feel confident going into the woods or knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so they're
you
less.
guys add the why behind it too, which I found. I'm interested in that. I agree with you. I would like to learn it and be taught it, but I want to know why, so then I can just kind of, you know more as I'm
Yeah.
seeing different things out there. So you guys have a lot of explanation, which I've liked, about even the phase of the rut. It's
Yep.
like the sign
Yeah.
phase right now. I was just reading, and it just talks about what's happening, why it's happening, and then what to do. And it's like, well, if that's like all you need to know. And hopefully
Yeah.
you start to know that going forward. You don't have to rely on the app so much.
Yeah. And I, to me, it's just getting people into the woods. If we can be that catalyst that gets somebody in the woods and that shows them success or how to be successful, or they actually use the app and they are successful hunting in the woods, next time you go out, you're going to bring somebody with you.
Right.
And that's kind of the whole thesis or the whole core of what we're doing is we want people to have positive experiences. And with the limited amount of time that we have in our lives and everything else, if we can help you be more successful that one time, two times, or that four times that you go out this year, um, that's a win for us. That's just a pure win for us.
I think it's cool too. I've talked to some of you guys about this, but there are a lot of guys. We talk to a lot of people on this podcast, and most people that have been hunting for a long time were introduced by their dad, or
100%.
grandpa, but most of the time your dad. So for those people who didn't have that, and I
Yeah.
know some, and I've gotten into hunting. Their dad didn't hunt, they didn't really do it, but I was able to because I had done it before. But there are people out there who I've talked to plenty times, and no one has shown them. They've got no one to go to, and so to have something to give them a little bit of a guide for how to operate in the woods. And we
Yeah.
try to do that with these podcasts, with our articles and things too. There's no reason that somebody can't figure a lot of this out on the internet even right now if that's what they have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the one thing. It's interesting. There's tons and tons of data. People. There's a bunch of different phases to the rut. Um, what I think the advantage of using the app is that we kind of bring all of those findings and research and maps and all of the data that we have and our competitors have is is pulled from data sources. What we're doing is we're bringing it together, and then on top of that we're telling you with the algorithm and the research that we've done and the years of experience, this is the best way to do it, or this is one way that we highly recommend based on the facts that we have behind it. So
Yeah.
it is important for us to get people not in the space or people even in the space educated or confident that they can go in and be successful in the woods.
Yeah. No, it's cool. And it is helpful to know that stuff and to see. I mean, you're picking the brains of guys like Jeff Sturgis, who's like
Yeah.
you have access to like a pretty great whitetail mind.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty incredible. Prior to that, you'd have to wait for Jeff to maybe write a book, to know what he was talking about, and even then, that doesn't always apply to everything that you're doing. So to have this huge body of information that you're continually adding to is pretty cool. How
Yeah.
does it work? So I know, and we're not going to do like an actual walkthrough of the app
Yeah.
now, but say I fire up Huntwise and I go to Huntcast. What am I looking at? How am I trying to?
Yeah. Yeah. So we just released Huntcast last week, and so
RutCast, right?
sorry, we
Yep.
just we just released RutCast in Huntcast
Yep.
last week, and there's a couple things that you'll see right away. So if you aren't pro or if you're pro or basic, you'll see the RutCast modal that pops up. You can increase your subscription to Elite, and that'll give you on a county by county or a localized rut data for wherever you're at. So that first screen that you'll see is the intro screen. It's a timer that ticks down to when pre-rut is starting within your area. And so you can click into that and understand what you're actually, what RutCast is and what you should be doing and looking at with it. And then as the rut continues through your area, those phases will change. And so right now, for me, I have 6 days for the property up in Cadillac. I have 6 days, 23 hours, and 59 minutes until pre-rut from our calculations and on the data that we have. That's when the pre-rut begins there. And so on that day, in 6 days, that card will actually change to say pre-rut and give you a bell curve of kind of the peak rut as the top of the bell.
Yep.
And then in each of those phases, if you click into that card, Jeff talks through what you should be looking for to identify that, there may be characteristics that are different, or the timing may be off because of the weather in your area by a couple days.
Yeah.
So really to identify that I am in pre-rut. So yes, I'm seeing these three things. And then once I identify that, yes, I am in pre-rut, you can actually understand how to hunt the pre-rut, which Jeff talks about and loves, because there's less pressure in the woods. The deer are just starting to come into rut. There's great opportunity, as in pre-rut and in lockdown, as there is peak rut as well.
Yeah. I'm looking at it right now. I have 4 days and 23 minutes.
Okay.
That seems like a good thing. That's what I
Yeah,
want.
and honestly, there's the data that we have, is what all of this is predicated on, but there could be no sign. So Jeff talks about this, where you're sitting in the woods, you don't see any of these things. It doesn't mean that pre-rut's not happening or that peak rut's not
Mm.
happening in your area. It may mean that you don't have mature bucks on your property right now.
The
And
young ones don't
so,
make a lot of sign.
yeah.
They just
And
don't.
so you have, different characteristics to look for, on top of just going and sitting in the woods and observing what's going on. We obviously, we want people to get in the woods and experience it, even if they have good or bad days, but this will just help you pick the right days
Yep.
on when to go out.
That's awesome. That's exciting.
It
How long
is
does it
it
take to
is
develop something like this?
uh, it's taken a number of months. I think the biggest thing for us was identifying we didn't want to just be another opinion. um, so
There's a
we
lot of
actually
those. There's moon calendars you can buy. There's a lot of stuff
and
like that.
yeah, and there's history and data behind a lot of that. That's played into our Huntcast algorithm.
Hmm.
But for RutCast, we actually, on our team, we hired a GIS specialist to focus on getting and gathering, again, tons of different research and data, to bring all of that together to say, okay, this is the date, this is the peak of pinnacle for this area. And then based on that, there's some science of a doe comes into heat. I know I'm going to get flack for this, but I think it's 28 days. So,
Okay. Yep.
so we're gonna have an asterisk on that, but I think it's 28 days, and so if she doesn't get bred within that time frame, then the second rut
Hmm.
and second or post and secondary is when another opportunity when she comes back into estrus. And as well as it takes a certain amount of days that um, for fawns to be born. And so with car crash data, a lot of states have, or not a lot, but a number of states have actually sonogrammed the fawn fetus and said, based on that data, we can go back and say peak rut
So you
would have
can tell
been
by
at this
gestation
time.
period, subtracting the car, seeing how far away how old the fetus was,
Yep.
essentially. I
Yep.
see. Interesting.
So, and it's interesting, even one of his, our GIS individuals, Randy, we were talking, he's like, Andy, get over here. You got to see this. And there's been, I think it's doctoral thesis is on, that actually car crashes correlate with peak rut. And so he was scrubbing state by state, and he was taking all of the data that he could
Ooh.
gather from car crashes, and it was getting very, very close. So there is a definite correlation that we found, that car crashes kind of correlate to, or do correlate to, the peak rut.
You know what? That's funny. Last year, my father-in-law. You add this data point to your algorithm here. My father-in-law smoked like a little buck on the highway, totaled his car. Um, but it was during like when I was seeing like the hottest rut action.
Yeah,
So that's pretty sweet.
yeah, yeah. And to me, there's a lot of, there's a ton of data points on it. There's a ton of opinion on it. Um, we think we're the best in that regard because we've spent the longest amount of time, or we've definitely put the time in this year, focusing on trying to gather all of those data points from the 50 states and identify, when is the peak rut, and then based on that, when do these other phases of the rut fall. There's some crazy numbers down south.
Mm.
Um, when that would happen. So you're going to see in the app, you can see swings within counties of I'm in pre-rut, or there's, 10 days left till pre-rut, or, you know, one of the, I think down in Florida, there's one that started in August, and then there's another one that starts in February.
Yeah.
So you have a big
So weird.
swing of, yeah. And a lot of that, again, some of the research that we found is that they've transplanted deer down there. So
Mm.
you have some northern deer that gets transplanted down there.
Funny.
Biology stays within them. And then the weather too, it's warmer longer. And so you have a peak rut, but the weather, can continue that rut a little bit longer if there isn't pushes.
Do you feel like you've earned then enough credits to consider yourself maybe a doctoral equivalent on deer movement at this point? Because I mean, you're reading different theses, different research
Yep.
papers. I mean, you're getting pretty serious about it.
I mean, I think from our standpoint, we've done a lot of research. I think you can always learn more. You can always get in the field more and observe. There's definitely a human error factor that plays into it. If you're sitting in the field, your odor, you walked in differently.
Sure.
There's a ton of factors that go into it, and we try to remove as many of those as possible when we were gathering the data to say, car correlation, crash correlation is. I wasn't sitting there in the woods trying to view an activity of an animal, putting myself in their space. They were actually running across the road. There was no correlation of me hunting or trying to put pressure on them to see what they were doing. It was just a car crash to this.
Yep.
And based on all of the other data, gestation period, you can start to correlate some of those things that, yes, a human factor was involved, but it wasn't directly trying to observe this behavior and add yourself into the equation.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Is that the next update? Is that going to take that into account? Is that human
Uh,
error cast?
I mean, I think we have some other great things coming out. I think one of the biggest things is, trying to, for me, again, we want to make you feel as confident as possible going into the woods that what you're doing is going to, provide success and provide a memory
Yeah.
that you can then pass on, or that you can get other people involved in. And one of the ideas that we've been kind of toying around with on top of all of the other ones is journaling. And so we want to be able to have you provide input into the algorithm itself. So, um, you know,
Like
whether it's adapt.
reports from what you saw?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would love that. That is something because sometimes I write it down in like the
Yep.
notes section. Interesting. Okay. Yep. I
So,
like that
and
idea.
again, there's tons of ideas out there. There's more ideas than we can develop at this time. So, but that's just a one of those other things of how do we get you involved as the customer or as the hunter into the app itself. So it's not just us telling you what to do, but you feel like you are a part of this, or you actually are a part of
Yeah.
the adaptive prediction. So your property is unique. Our algorithm is broad, and we can get it down to the county with the rut, but we want you to be a part of the app itself, a part of the experience. So that's just one of the ideas is, adding journaling or adding reporting into it so you can feel like you're a part of it.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it sounds like so we're what you said 6 days away from pre-rut. Have you been out yet? Have
Uh,
you been doing a lot of hunting,
I, I haven't.
dude?
I was actually just talking to my wife about this coming weekend, because Thursday, October 21st at 11 a.m. is best time right now, and it correlates to I have 6 days, so it'll be right on the edge of pre-rut. Um, so and then yeah, the next weekend, Friday the 29th and October 30th, close to Halloween with the kids will be difficult, but I could probably pull a Friday.
But you here's the thing though, because Halloween's on Sunday, so
Halloween is Sunday.
right, so that might help you a little bit because then they don't really celebrate it on Sunday, and then maybe you can get like a Sunday hunt. That's how I'm playing it. Uh, that's what I'm doing. I'm
Well,
actually no, that's not true. That's what I would do. This year I'm gone. I was supposed to be with Matt filming
okay.
on Manitou Island, North Manitou.
Yeah, what happened to that?
We're having troubles with getting filming permits. because so long story is short-ish is you typically you can't or you have to get a special permit. Um, but recently, Supreme Court case said that that's not you can allow people to hunt on national park land. I know I'm
Yeah.
probably butchering this in the moment, but anyways, we're not sure if what happens is if wilderness area falls within that or if it's excluded. And I think it's excluded, but I've called everybody I know that could help and see what they could figure out. But me and Jared might just cell phone picture it when we're out there, which would be fun. But it would have been fun to have Matt out in film.
Yeah, he's actually he's out in Colorado right now doing an elk hunt
I saw it with
with
Spencer, right? Your not brother.
yeah my not brother at the company. Um, yeah, him Spencer and Jeff and a couple of Jeff's buddies are out doing an elk hunt, and this is the first time I think Spencer's you know gone after elk, so it's a pretty cool time, and they've already got um, one bagged, and I think Jeff was saying they've seen some other ones, so hopefully they come back with some good stories.
That's sweet. Well, and now, I mean, Spencer and Jeff are out. Is it kind of like a party in the office right now? Like anything goes? Or is there order when they're gone?
It's funny how I obviously Jeff founded the company, and Spencer was a fast follow, so they've been leading the charge for a number of years and have been doing an amazing job. I think we had talked before we started this that their mindset in as far as hiring has been great. And so everybody that they've hired has kept that same mindset, and everybody that we're hiring keeps the same mindset. So we really don't skip a beat when people leave. Not that they're not missed by any means,
Sure.
but
And they're listening
with
to this, so they're gonna, you have to say this.
I gotta say, but no, we're definitely heads down during this time of year or during the season. Yeah, and talking about getting out, it's harder for us, especially with the app and on my team, customer service, trying to respond to people within a timely manner. You obviously you pay money for the app, and we respect that, and we want to make sure that we respond to you in a timely fashion. So
No, that's awesome. No, we like I said, we've appreciated you guys. Appreciated the updates that you keep have coming out and all the work you're doing. So, for people who are listening and want to check out Huntwise, how do they look at it? How do they follow the videos that Huntwise has been putting out, which have been awesome? The caribou
yeah,
one is great. Where should they check you guys out?
so you can check us out obviously on YouTube and Instagram. We're there. We've got a pretty good following, and we just Matt, as you talked about earlier, just came out with Average Joe. They went up to Alaska and did a self-guided caribou hunt, which was awesome.
Yep.
You can check us out on huntwise.com, and then on the App Store, both Android and iOS apps, you can get the Huntwise app there.
Excellent. Well, hey, I appreciate you, Andy. Appreciate you coming on, talking about it, and for everybody who's out there, if you're looking to get a map, looking to get into hunting, looking to improve hunting, check out Huntwise. I'll say it, whether or not we work together, I would use it, and actually I had prior to it. So appreciate you guys, and thanks again for coming on.
Yeah, good luck this season.
You too.